But we'll kick it off, just kind of explain what this episode's about. So last episode we had our 10 through 6 quarterback ranking. This is our top 5 quarterback ranking. We spoke a little bit about one of the players that I'm about to hit accept on, and I feel really gross about this. But let me know what you think. So he was my number 9 on last week's episode.
I can't believe you're doing this right now.
Accepted it. So the trade is Jayden Daniels, Saquon Barkley. As we spoke to before, I'm very needy for running back, and I didn't have Saquon Barkley in my top 10 on that running back episode. I think he's in it now. Brian Thomas. So I gave up Jayden Daniels, Barkley. I'm very weak at running back. I don't have depth at quarterback. Watson was my number 2. It's a 1 quarterback league, and I get so I gave up Watson. I gave up Jaylen Warren, who's I think 25, approaching 26. I think so. He's kind of getting towards the age cliff, but hasn't taken over yet. So I think it'll be a short-lived. Brian Thomas is. My brain knows that he's great, but I think it's an effective. Like, I'm not excited about him. I think it's because of the other guys are so exciting that I just haven't been that excited about Thomas. But Jayden Daniels, he's my maybe quarterback of the future. Barkley gets me stronger at running back throughout this year. I have Kyron Williams and Achane, so I'm a little like they're both kind of risky. Tell me what you think. What are your initial takes on this one? And when you're ready, you can press process.
This is dirty. I have actively, so if you're listening, Larson, calling you out, actively sent trades for those same exact 2 players.
Really?
As time has gone along. Yeah, I could even, I
Really?
have the receipts. I'll send it to you. You already knew that Jayden Daniels was one of my targets to be a quarterback of the future, but there was no way for me to trade up for him during the draft. And Saquon Barkley was in my top 10 of running backs.
It's Saquon.
Unlike some folks on this chat. So, honestly, I'm upset because now there's no way I'm getting Jayden Daniels. 1, and then 2, I'm upset because I think you won the trade. Now, I will say I like Thomas. I like Brian Thomas Jr. in this trade. I do think he has potential to do great things in Jacksonville. He's everything. I think I've said this before, but he's everything that Quentin Johnson was supposed to be. I think he's much stronger to the ball. He's going to do really well as a rookie, who's right behind Ladd McConkey for me as far as talent goes. I think Warren, even though he's getting closer to the age cliff, he doesn't have the tread on his tires that people at that same age do. So he has a little bit more longevity. And so I think that he's getting some good pieces. So I don't think you by any means gypped him. I don't think you destroyed him on this trade, but I do think you walk away the winner. Which
I think it also has to do with the team dynamic. Because if I was weaker at wide receiver, I wouldn't have done that. I have Josh Allen as my first quarterback and only 1 QB reminder, and he has Lamar Jackson as his top quarterback. So he was willing to kind of trade and take. He has many picks in the next few years, so he's kind of, I think, willing to trade away, ride Lamar for a few more years, and find his quarterback of the future. I'm fine with Josh Allen, but I really did I have no picks at all, literally, in the future. So it is on my mind that Josh Allen can go for another few years, might go longer, but I'm not going to have an exit plan that's a good one. So I got to kind of just take some shots throughout the next couple of years at some up and coming quarterbacks and see if maybe one's the future and takes over the Josh Allen piece. And it's about time to
all right.
I think it's about time to trade. I think it's about time to trade Josh Allen in the next next year or so. So I'm kind of trying to prepare myself for that while he still has a lot of value.
Fair enough. All right. Well, apparently he's a bigger fan of the potential of Brian Thomas than of that of Jordan Addison, but that's cool. Whatever. I offered him a couple of different pieces to get Jayden Daniels.
Yes,
but that's all right. It's all right. I'm good.
Yeah, he sent it. I texted to him. He sent it over to me. So I was like, all right, this is official. Yes, but I gotta wait 15 minutes until this episode is recording so I can accept it live.
That's cool. All right. Well, you got a real-time reaction out of me. And now you all know, world, that the trade game is real in our leagues, and It's no BS. This stuff happens in real time, and with the amount of episodes we've had that have included some sort of trade information, we do it.
It's the best part of fantasy. I know. We're traders. I think we can actually probably just go right into buy, sell. We wanted to take a look at one quarterback that we would like, that we think is a good buy right now. It's a little bit lower. And then one that we feel like we could sell off. Mine, I think, is going to be Jayden Daniels to buy. I think actually I was torn between. So I think both Jayden Daniels, because of just the upside. They're next to each other in keep trade cut ranking of so people's general feeling of them. Kyler Murray and Jayden Daniels are actually right next to each other. I was looking at both of them, which one should I put as a buy candidate? I think both of them are great. If you're looking at some of the ones above them, I can point to a few quarterbacks that I'd rather have above them, but not too many. When you're talking about the value that would come with it, if you're a first and Kyler Murray, or would you rather have Anthony Richardson? The upside, obviously, we talked about last episode, is there with Anthony Richardson, but Kyler Murray offers a similar upside, but more stability. So we talked about the approach of a high risk, high reward, and just a steady, safe quarterback. And Kyler Murray is kind of right in between those two. And I think other than the unknown that's in there with Jayden Daniels, he offers a similar piece too, where I could see him turning into a Kyler Murray, which is suitable for him given his Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator there. Who's your buy candidate, and do you agree or disagree with mine? Both of them.
Well, I think clearly we agree about Jayden Daniels, so I don't think we have to jump too far into that. And I totally buy the
I had no idea you were going for him.
Narrative.
Sorry.
So upsetting. How many times that this happens in our league? I just got to get better at that. Anyway, all right. So I agree with what you did there, what you actually accomplished, and obviously you're pulling off what you were selling here. And I think you thought I was joking when I said this the first time. But at cost today, I think someone that's worth buying, when I think about this exercise and this thought process, I think about people that are kind of worth flyers. Maybe they're ranked in the 20 and above, but have an opportunity to jump into a QB1, right? I think I said in a recording at some point that this player is top 15 potential. And I'm not saying that he is my quarter and in my top 15. I'm saying he has potential to end up there by the end of the year. I have him ranked currently as QB 22. I just looked up his current ADP. Not that matters much in the middle of July, but he's QB 23 in ADP. But that's Will Levis. And let me tell you why. All right.
The support and the amount of times you put your name on this man.
Yeah. Right. So look, man, someone's got to root for people, dude. I was sad when I saw him sitting there in the draft room all by himself, waiting to get drafted.
Is that where it comes from? Anchor bias of sadness?
Yeah, the empathy vibes were huge here. Anyway, but the reality is they used a first-round pick this year to shore up his line. They got him another tackle, J.C. Latham, and then they have added some extra weapons for him. Without Derrick Henry there, they've added Tony Pollard. Now, it's not great for Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears, but they're both pass-catching backs, so now he has multiple outlets, his opportunities to get out of trouble. He's got the arm. He's shown accuracy issues, and he had some problems last year, but before he got injured last year, he was QB 17 in the time that he was played after he took over for Tannehill. So he has the potential to do well and be out there. And they got Calvin Ridley. He's got some extra weapons. They're giving him a chance to be the guy. And I think he can run and take it. Now, I could be super wrong and he lands exactly where he's expected to be, but I think for the cost that you're going to spend to go get him, he's worth buying and taking as a flyer today. Now, I'm not saying go get him if you don't have a QB1. Go get your QB1 first, but someone that can sit on your bench and see how he does through the end of this year, maybe even leading into next year, think that Will Levis is worth going and buying right now. My other notable mention, I know we're only picking one, but you said two, so I'm going to say two too.
The
other guy
you had to have traded for him today.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I'm gonna break the rule then anyway. The second guy that I would have looked at, and this is just an older guy if you're trying to win now because he's never, and you're just looking for a solid 17 points per game
Joe Flacco
to go by, is Kirk Cousins actually. So,
all right.
So for me, new scheme, got a ton of weapons out there. Outside of 1 year over the last 6 years, he's averaged over 17 points per game. He's never been horrible. So if you need someone to just get you points and you can set it and kind of forget it and not have to worry about it. I know that he had Justin Jefferson, but I think he's got some great weapons around him now. Obviously in Pitts, in London, and Robinson, where he can see some sustained success out there. I think at for a full complement of weapons, I think he's got a better variety than he's had in the past. So I think he should be good to go. So I think that's another solid buy.
Yeah, I think with rankings are tough in Dynasty when you kind of end up splitting hairs because it really depends on what you need, and that can change your ranking dramatically. Not everyone's in the same position or place, so someone like Kirk Cousins can be a great buy target, like the equivalent of Henry for running back, or you want to see if you can squeeze Hopkins or Adams for another year or so. This Cup, for example, older but can still bring something. I wanted to go to Will Levis. I want to just kind of read off and you tell me stop on some rankings of quarterbacks above him. And I want you to tell me stop when we hit one that you would rather have Will Levis over. Okay, so the beginning it might stop me.
Will Levis.
Okay. Purdy.
Are we talking about this year or are we talking about Dynasty?
No, Dynasty.
Dynasty? Will Levis.
Wait, Levis over who? Okay. Mr. 3-year ban. Purdy, Lawrence, Tua.
No.
May?
No.
McCarthy, Jayden Daniels.
Nope.
That's where we're at right now in the rankings.
Obviously.
So it seems like he's kind of right in there. He's ranked at around 21 and about where you are, but you think maybe he can take a few spots up and then just stay there and be a good backup quarterback.
I think of him how we talked about Devon Achane a couple weeks or last week. We had him ranked at number 8 in our rankings, but we said he had top 3 potential, right?
Do you see him top 3 with Levis?
No, I'm not saying he's top 3. I'm saying that he can jump into QB 12 to 15 territory. Someone that you could use as a streamer confidently. Outside of him being QB 22 or 21, wherever he's sitting right now. I think he could end the year being in that 12 to 15 area and someone that you could confidently utilize week over week.
Now, as a reminder, he played only 9 games last year. In those 9 games, how many yards did he rush? What's your guess?
Sub 100.
Yeah.
Is it
throw out a number?
I don't know. 75. I knew there was a 7 and a 5.
yeah. Actually, maybe I'm just nope. It's 57. All right, so our sell candidates.
Frying that. Fair enough. I'm not
Who's
saying...
your sell candidate?
Look, man, we'll call this my hot take.
Yeah. No, it's clearly a hot take. But actually, you're not being outlandish. You're saying that it might. You're not being outlandish. Yeah. You're saying that he's going to turn into, based on where he is, not that he's going to be a superstar, but we often focus on the top. This episode is about top 5 QB rankings, and we often focus on the tops. But a dynasty team, a proper one, needs the Joe Flacco's, Kirk Cousins, and maybe Will Levis. Who's your sell?
Yeah.
Who do you not need?
All right, so this one was harder for me, but I was trying to go through the rankings and think who is someone that the general public might be using today is kind of that QB, that backup QB, or someone that's maybe solid they can get rid of. And I kept landing on the same name, but my stake is on him that he is my starter, so I'm going to sell Justin Herbert, even though everything makes sense. If your league, depending on your league, you might be able to sell him, but hold on to him because I am. So with that being said, I'm going to go to Jared Goff. So Jared Goff for me, someone that's good for 17 points a game. Another Kirk Cousins type name. He's not your starter, probably. He's probably a QB2, someone you have on the bench. So I know I'm breaking the rules. I'm not being sexy here, but I think it's someone that is going to start fading down, but you can still get something for him if you try to sell today. But what about you, man? Because I think you're being sexier about this.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of it follows the piece where I had Stroud ranked a little further down than most people do. I have him at 8 as my QB 8 for Dynasty, and he's my sell. And not specifically, it's going to sound like I'm a hater after 2 episodes in a row, bringing some shade on Stroud. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with public opinion. I feel like it's inflated, and it's got him to a point where on value, and again, we're referencing keep the trade cut because it is based on people's general feeling and sentiment, what you can get. It's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and then CJ Stroud. He's number 3 in a tier of his own. He's in the second tier. I can't imagine, like, I'm going to do the opposite I did with Levis. I'm going to read below, and you tell me when there's a quarterback that you'd like to have Stroud above. Jalen Hurts.
Wait, someone that I'd like to have CJ Stroud above?
Right. So I'm going to read the ones under him, and you say, like, tell me if there's when's the first couple that you'd rather have CJ Stroud than these guys.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson.
That one's close. I don't want to give away what we're doing here, but I have them right next to each other. So that one's
Anthony Richardson.
Close for me. I would take CJ Stroud right now in today's world.
Joe Burrow?
Over Anthony Richardson.
Same. I think you would over that? Okay.
I have him ranked pretty high.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I would take
Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Jayden Daniels. Like, these are all, if you would take Stroud above it, I get it. But these are all ones that are like, these are approaching a second rounder and this quarterback, or a first rounder and this quarterback, because I don't feel like the value that is put here is alone and one for one. People are overpaying for this person because they want to get him on their team. So I think a lot of these ones that aren't as sexy, like let's say Kyler Murray, Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams is still really crazy right now. So it was probably those two, like the Kyler Murray, Jayden Daniels, the bottom of that top 10, and saying like those guys can be better than Stroud every year. I don't think that's outlandish. I think that's probable in most cases. I think Stroud is the Burrow, most likely. Because Herbert was looked at as hotter than hot when he had that crazy sophomore year. And then a pocket passer can go all the way down, then all the way back up again. So I think I'd rather just have a really solid rushing quarterback than Stroud, if I'm saying that plus something.
Yeah, I buy it, and I think I buy into what you're saying around the name, like just the name value right now and where he's actually landing on people's lists, because I may in a vacuum take Stroud over a lot of the guys that we just talked about. But for where I am in a draft, especially in a redraft, I'm not going to go get Stroud if I can get a couple of key pieces and wait and get Kyler Murray later. So yeah, I totally buy into that. So I totally get why he's a sell for you for sure.
Yeah. One of the ones that you first hesitated on was Lamar Jackson. And you said they're back to back in your rankings, so more spoilers. But Lamar Jackson is who we both have as our number 5.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about him, because for me, I keep going. I mean, I don't know if I got soured. I drafted him in redraft, I think 9 or 10, 10th round next to Andrews as back-to-back. It was just a very lucky, nice setup, and I loved him. But then the fall off, it's a roller coaster. He's one of the only mobile quarterbacks that does have this up and down, and I don't know if it really is that up and down as it feels, or it's just expectations are always high, and maybe it's name fatigue. Tell me how you're feeling about Lamar Jackson. I mean, he is top 5 in both of our rankings, so not a scrub.
This guy's a bum. No, this guy's been a video game since he entered the league. He was a video game since he was in college, man. Like, this guy just is an elite runner beyond comparison. He's just obviously, to me, kind of objectively, probably the best rushing quarterback that we've seen in the last at least 10, 15 years. If not ever, right? So he's got the running ability there. He's consistent. He's only continued to grow, right? His arm was his concern when he first started. Like, his arm isn't a concern anymore, right? He's super solid on both versions of being a quarterback, right? And he's still relatively young. He's a year younger than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So he's still got some time on the clock there. Honestly, maybe we're too low on him. Like, the more I say, the more I convince myself that maybe we're too low. But Lamar Jackson's got to be a top 5. No one would be surprised if he ended up being QB 1 or 2 at the end of the year, because what we keep talking about, he's the most elite runner in our top 5 probably. And that's the unlock. That's the God mode that we keep talking about. So he's got to be up there. There's reasons why I have at least the other 4 folks ahead of him, but it makes total sense to me for him to be at least in the top 5 conversation. What about you, dude?
Yeah, I mean, so there's something, I don't know, it's not because I'm a Browns fan, I don't think, but there's something about him that I just, I keep being afraid to put my name on him, like it's just not going to happen again or something like that. And now I have to go back and look at his year to year, honestly, and see, like, is it just I'm looking back over his years, is it just like the projection? So he's been top 10. So I'm not wrong here. He was number 1, he was number 29, then 1, 10, 15, 14, and 4. So I think this is where it comes from. I thought it was up and down. It started hot. He had a few rough years and then finished hot. I don't know if we're talking about glass with Anthony Richardson, who is my number 4. I mean, if we're talking about someone being fragile, we've got last year was his first year that he played all 16 games. That's not good. It was 16, 12, 12, 15, 15, 16. And actually, there were 17 games last year, so he's never played a full season. Now that I'm saying it out loud, other than when he was backing up Joe Flacco. So, yeah, I think he's more fragile than we think. He can throw better than most rushing quarterbacks that are at that level, so he has that backup and might age gracefully. But I think that I can see a world where he falls out of top 10 any year. And for that type of upside and having that big of a swing, I can't see other than injury with Anthony Richardson, I can't see like the top few guys really falling out of top 10.
Yeah, so for me, another thing that I would consider with Lamar Jackson too is that year over year, they've had him for so long, and then he's been this quarterback for so long that they've consistently built the offensive scheme around his style and what he does. And to your injury point, he's going to not take as much of a beating, I don't think, as he has in the past, knowing that Derrick Henry is there to take a lot more of the beatings going down the middle. So maybe they run the ball a little bit more aggressively that way. I know they've had Gus Bus and some other folks in the past, but none of them are Derrick Henry. So I think he takes a little bit less, even if it's minuscule or a small percentage. I think he has a little bit less injury risk there. And they've consistently just built this team to make him successful. So I don't know what's going to happen after the age of Lamar Jackson with the ball. This team is structured for him to be successful. I think that's why he's got the longevity that he does. But yeah, I think we're okay with him at 5, but you're right. Because of the injury history, he could fall out. Now, speaking of injury history, let's talk about your number 4.
I think we hit, you can go back to last episode. I kind of talked a little bit more about Anthony Richardson, as you had him ranked as number 6. I have him ranked as number 4. So we had a conversation a little bit more in depth about it, but like the summary of it is, it's the game-breaking possibility. The upside is too big to ignore. There is a lot of hype around him. Hype is okay, a little bit more okay buying it when the upside is there in Dynasty. Sometimes you just gotta like buy it, but you are buying him at the ceiling right now. So I would consider him like, probably I wouldn't go after him personally. But having him and seeing what he could possibly be with what he had, I don't think they're going to use him the same way he did when he got banged up. But I also don't know if that was like, I can't say for sure that was, it could have been a fluke, you know? We've said injury, like we're treating him like he is made of glass. And I understand why, but that could just also just happen. And you can make adjustments, and it's not like he came in as a fragile looking guy. He was the most athletic quarterback prospect that's ever been. So there is a solid chance that he's just fine, injury wise, and he can then do what he was doing, which was breaking fantasy football. and the risk is worth it for me, especially in a 1 QB league. Even some of the top quarterbacks you can get for a decent price. So I think it's worth the risk there. This next guy, CJ Stroud, we is your number 4, and this is somebody we also kind of already spoke to a little bit. But is there anything else you want to add and really also justify?
Yeah, I mean, in the same way that you're talking about his injury history, I think that CJ Stroud is someone that I would justify with just his ability to make people better around him, and he's shown us what he can do with the ball in his hands, no matter who is catching passes. I mean, I don't know that anyone would have been with another quarterback would be talking about Nico Collins and tank the way that they have been over the last couple of years, or last year. Sorry,
Nico,
I just think
yes,
CJ Stroud has been. What's that?
Tank Nico, yes, I love him, but yeah.
We know. But yeah, so I think that he's just going to be someone that's going to be able to get the ball down the field no matter who's out there. And then, adding Stephon Diggs is is nothing to shrink behind, right? So it's going to be huge for having options for him. Hopefully he doesn't throw a panic attack out there or anything, but we're stoked to see CJ out there for sure. Now, taking a look here, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add to CJ. We've talked about him a ton. But as we jump in, this is kind of like our our running back episode. We agreed on 4 of our top 5. Let's just jump. So I think in running backs we agreed on our top 2, but here we agree on our top 3, and our number 5 was the same too. So just jumping into it, why do you hate Patrick Mahomes so much?
Why do I hate Patrick Mahomes so much? A great question, Bob. So I think it really comes down to Taylor Swift. No, I shouldn't even, because people will probably take that seriously. I like Patrick Mahomes a lot, as well as Swift. She's great. So Patrick Mahomes, though, is just not a rushing quarterback. And I think that it's, I would say, a huge honor and compliment, I guess, to have him in a top 3 without being, it's a compliment to his game. I mean, Stroud, that's a real big compliment too, but that could possibly be where we look at him more solidified next year if he turns out to be the next Mahomes. When you get a guy that is at his level who does have the chance at getting number 1 overall, and probably won't drop too far out of that as a pocket quarterback, I think that's huge. We've got 2 of his 6 years as a starter, he wasn't top 4. I mean, that's unheard of in this scoring format. So I think that that's pretty clear that he deserves to be up here. And he's one of those people that you just don't bet against because he's that good. And Tom Brady was kind of like that, where you just don't bet against him in like real football, especially. And you're only wrong once or twice. And if you bet against these guys like Mahomes, you're wrong more often than not.
Yeah. I think Mahomes is going to be one of those guys that we're going to keep being right about him until we're wrong. Like, even when all signs point to he should be bad or he should see a decline, he's proven over and over again, it doesn't matter.
Like,
Hill
leaving, that was the same situation. It was his worst year last year. He was sucked. He was the worst. And he was 8. Like, that's so I mean there's definitely a window where I won't pay up for his max, his ceiling, but I think he's no longer the number 1 or 2 being drafted. So I think it allows for you to just make a safe pick there that has the potential to have some upside.
Yeah, and the only reason he's not number 1 is because of the God mode we keep talking about with mobile quarterbacks. I mean, that's literally the only reason why. This guy, unheard of, but over the 6 years that he's had as a starter, his completion percentage has increased. No matter who his pass catchers are, he went from, and not to say it increased a ton, his first year it was 66. In 2018, it was 66% completion percentage, and last year it was 67.2. But it's consistent. It's never dipped, right? More than 0.1%. And it's just consistently been up there, and it doesn't matter who he's throwing to. I mean, look at some of, you can go through a laundry list of names of folks that wouldn't even be considered an elite pass catcher on any other team. But if you have Patrick Mahomes throwing to you, unless your name is Kadarius Toney, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes is someone that's just not going to go away. I don't know what else we can say about the guy.
He's
And
got
I'm a
a
Chargers fan.
76.8% adjusted accuracy score. And that score is taking away, if you don't know, taking away like any of like the spikes, the long bomb ones that are just like throwing up a Hail Mary or throwing it away. It's taking all those other ones that we're truly looking at when he's trying to complete a pass, how often, and it gets you a better sense of how accurate and how good a quarterback is. And 76.8 is that's insanity. We have somebody like who can we look at here? Like Jordan Love was really good, pretty accurate, 63.2%. We've got Josh Allen, he's outstanding. He's a really great mobile quarterback, but also at throwing, and he's at 70. So you've got just such a gap between him and everybody else in what he does, which is why he's insanely high up there. The next person below him, CJ Stroud, at 73.5% in 2023. So you've got, I think that's the piece to look at. You got Burrow at 72. Those are the quarterbacks that you can see taking the next step and challenging Mahomes for that tier within the next few years.
Yeah, and that type of quarterback for sure.
It turns out accuracy matters. Let's look at Hurts. And I guess our transition there with Hurts will be that actually I don't even have his accuracy. That transition won't work because I don't have it written down. But he stepped it up as an all-around quarterback 2 years ago, and kind of hit that next tier. The one worry that keeps me from, not that he would necessarily challenge Allen. I think Allen has proven himself, so it's hard to put him up at the number one spot. But the one thing is Jason Kelce, shout out to Heights High. Jason Kelce stepping away, and we got to figure out what it looks like now with the QB sneak, the brotherly shove, and see if they change it up with Barkley, a competent running back that I suggest anyone go out and trade for. With him in town now, that might adjust it too. But he's got enough talent around him, and he's good enough in the pocket as well as outside to give you a little bit extra of a boost to be successful. He had 760 rushing yards last year and 10 rushing touchdowns. I expect both to go down a little bit, but more so the rushing touchdowns. Is he able to make that up in the passing game?
Yeah, I mean, I expect it to go down a little bit, which is why I have him at 2 and not at 1, really, because with Saquon Barkley there, you're right, like that's going to take away some, but I think that makes up for what could have happened to him if they continue to try that tush push without Jason Kelce there in front of him. So yeah, not a ton to add here because he's just gonna keep being who he was. He's still got AJ Brown. He's still got developing Devontae Smith out there, and I think that there's going to be a lot of great pieces around him still. And there's nothing has changed enough for me to think that he's going to take a dip. So Jalen Hurts for sure. He's probably of the best dual threat quarterbacks that we have out there today. So nothing that I would change there. But we might have different opinions on what's going to happen with this next guy. But why do we think Josh Allen is deserving of that number one spot still after these years, after losing Stephon Diggs, all of that stuff? Why is he still number one?
Yeah, so we talked about not betting against Mahomes because 1, 7, 4, 4, 1, and then 8, and don't bet against this guy. Let's exclude his first year where he obviously had some development to do. He started at 8 in 2019, and then he was 1, 1, 2, 1. He had 18 interceptions last year, and he's losing Diggs. I get that, but he still did really well last year when Diggs was out. I think that's actually when he had his better games, if I recall. Like he's not losing anything. I think with Diggs going, he's losing the Diggs from a few years ago, but I don't think that he's losing much in the way of like what he was offering, especially the back half of last year. So the back half of last year, Diggs had 6 points, 5 points. He had 119 games, 6, 8, 7, 7. He wasn't doing much. And in the same respect for Allen, we're looking at those same areas where he had multiple games over 30, 40, 24, 20, 20. Like this, he wasn't affected by it. And we already saw that the two players that left when they were not performing at all, they both are gone now. And you replace them with somebody that is not a superstar, but Curtis Samuel is offering you a lot of good options. Kincaid takes that next step. Coleman, I think, is probably a 2 in this league, but he has the opportunity to be something there. So I think they're upgrades over what he had last year when you consider the possible growth of some of those players that are in there. Plus, I mean, Claypool, Matt Collins.
I was waiting, man. Wondering what's going on. Plus, you got James Cook back there that's still helping him out. I'm excited to see what all of the red zone weapons that are out there. Keon Coleman, big receiver. I think you're right. He's going to be a 2. A gadget player like Samuel. Nothing to disagree with you on this one because I, like you, had him at number 1. And regret a trade from last year where I gave him up a little bit. But that's okay.
No. Don't skip over it so fast. So what was that trade? It was so I gave you Waddle and a first round pick, and you got, who did you actually pick with that first round pick?
I'm gonna go check that out right now.
So then you gave me Thielen right at the end of him doing something, which I thought might be a good spot start. Allen and Okonkwo, which I had just so much false praise for him. So you got Waddle in the first for Allen while you already had the superstar Justin Herbert.
Yeah, so a lot of trades, a lot of investment obviously made into Justin Herbert, and my belief in him might have screwed me a little bit last year as I traded for him with Anthony Richardson, and then at the time I had Herbert and Josh Allen and decided to go ahead and trade away Josh Allen because of my confidence in said Justin Herbert. I do like the pieces that I got back. I'm struggling to find...
Is that McCarthy?
What number pick was that I had?
4. Well, it was team 4, it says, but I don't know if that's the direct order. I don't think I gave you one of the top ones.
Yeah.
It was. I gave you James Cook for the one that you got McCarthy for, so I think you got Ladd McConkey.
Okay. I'll take it.
All right.
So
McConkey for, yeah.
All right. On paper, not
fair.
The greatest decision I've ever made. Wanted to get but I will say my wide receiver room is stacked, so I may try to do something that will allow me to get some help in the quarterback position, because right now I have my number 10 quarterback as my starter, and he didn't even crack your top 10. While you're sitting there with Jayden Daniels and Josh Allen both on your team. So super excited to talk about quarterbacks, but I'm not doing great on my own.
So, well, I'll give you a shout out here, maybe lick the wounds a bit before we close this out. So, as a reminder, the last first inaugural 2 seasons of the Dynasty League, this man holds the championship belt right behind him, and he did that even with this approach that he has of being okay with just making trades. You want to get your guy. It's about having fun and you don't have to lose to have fun and win with your guys. So I'll give you a shout out because you always find a way to be competitive and win and dominate even when you're making big changes that lead to you winning a championship starting Flacco against me. So shout out to you. And it's good to not take it so seriously and remember that it's a game. Get the guys you want and have fun and get the guys you want to root for. And now I don't have to root for Deshaun Watson in fantasy and for the Browns. So that's great. He's off my team.
Fantastic. I'm happy for you in that one regard. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Don't forget to check it out on our YouTube. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Make sure you engage with us. We will make sure to respond. And if you stuck with us this whole time, do our horrible trades or our awesome ones, we would love to get feedback on all of that as well. Anyway, we'll see you out in the comment section.
Smart. Yeah, see you soon, y'all.
All right, later, folks.